So today I wanted to talk about something really, really important, something that has actually I've been able to connect to. And it's not just a struggle that a lot of men experience. I'm actually really dedicating this to men, but I believe even for women, it's really valuable for you to watch this, because even in the video before, I was trying to communicate something that I guess, it came to me early and soon, maybe didn't make most amount of sense, but in a lot of ways, I just kind of had to surrender to what I had to say. And I think that there's a certain point where if you disconnect people enough from their humanity, they're no longer connecting off the basis of that. They're connecting off of a projection of the perception of it. But if most people don't have a relationship with it, it's all just their insecurities. And I never really got to share a lot about what it took me to be here. You guys see something. And I mean, of course you see something. You saw the same thing that I saw in myself. But you're naive to what it took to get here. Not just because I haven't told you, but because most people's perception of how anybody creates something meaningful or beautiful or of something of great achievement looks like, it's not at all what you think. Today, we're really talking about what does it mean to be a strong man. The externalization of anything never really lets you feel connected to it. And we kind of have seen how, the hair transplants, the Lamborghinis, and the muscles aren't really cutting it at this point. We need something deeper, something that really shows us what exactly does it mean to be strong as a man. And so I was really challenged with that over this week. I just finished up a podcast with this one creator. She's really smart, really intelligent, really gifted. And she was asking me, hey, why are you holding your knees? And I was like, they hurt a lot. And it's nothing actually against my knees. It's actually what I buried in my knees. I could tell you, it kind of rhymes. I put my insecurities where my knees are. I didn't want to experience them. So instead, now I have what you call tendinitis. Now, it would kind of come and go, but it was something that definitely did make me realize is that I think the one thing that most men are afraid of is to be seen as weak. Now, if you want to do the worst thing that you could possibly do, which is what I did to me, and by the way, once you become open to what your body feels, you're like, okay, I know where I bury this. So I could tell you a little bit about the stories that have been happening recently that have been opening me up to this. The worst thing that you could ever develop in your whole life that made people neglect me was actually the manifestation of a belief that I thought would make people tend me. It was not actually what I wanted. And so actually, this is actually a better way to put it. The worst protective mechanism that I ever created, I guess that's the best way to put it. The worst characteristic that I ever developed was that I need to be perceived as strong and knows it all. Okay, listen to that. I need to be seen as strong and know it all. I had that shit when I was 16, and the only thing people wanted to do to me is slap me across the fucking face. I wanted to do the same. Hence, one of the most important things I could have ever done is expose myself to new experiences that got me to realize the lesson of my mistakes. So there's a list of things that happened this week, and they were all in direct relationship to this. And actually, something that even happened in my group. I had some new group members jump in, some new guys, some big heads, as they say, the tough types. And immediately the insecurity came up. To be perceived as strong and know it all. Now, it was interesting because when the insecurity came up, my knees started to hurt. And I started to act like I didn't know what the fuck was going on, but I knew damn well what was going on. The worst thing that a man could ever create in his mind is that he needs to be seen that way. Listen to the words. What is it and what does it mean to be strong is far beyond your current understanding of it. Right now, your definition of it is not strength. It's called performance. Strength is something that has a tremendous amount of heart and understanding of emotion. And if you can't really understand what strength is, then every expression that's honest is nothing that you're going to see but weak. And if that's really how you see yourself when you have something true to say, and there's a tremendous amount of strength in saying the truth, or even being able to feel the things that you're experiencing outside of that perception. I had a friend come into my gym the other day, and he kind of ran in there all manic, and I was looking at him, and I could see he was just covered in insecurities. He didn't know what to do. And I spoke with him. I wanted to talk to him about what exactly is this. There's something you're disconnecting yourself from, and it's making you very weak. And it's that you believe that you need to constantly be seen as this thing. And because you need to be seen as this thing, you neglect yourself. And because you neglect yourself, you're weak. So What does it really mean to be a strong man? Well, let's just take strong. What does it mean to be strong? A strong person is somebody who's willing to identify the parts of themselves that they have no relationship with and start showing up for them. You know, you develop strength in opposition, resistance. Yet, it's just a question of the mode of operation by which you go about it. You know, most people never grow into a strong man or even a strong woman, to say the least. It's because they never learn from their mistakes. It was the worst thing that I ever developed. And even looking back at it now, I mean, hey, this is new for me. I didn't even know this. But what changed my life is not what you think changed my life. I was so stuck. It sabotaged me. Oh my God, it kept me so far away from my gifts. And that's what I've been chasing my whole life. I wanted to have something to say for myself, a voice, a face. Oh my God, my insecurities really revolved around that. I knew there was something to be done with it, but I was letting it go to waste. And there's no worse feeling than that. Every day you let go to waste because you clearly know you have some gifts, but you know you're too much of a coward to face everything that makes you feel insecure. What changed my life is not what you think. I used to work as a trainer. I was really damn good. But the ceiling is pretty damn small. Same thing with bodybuilding. Anybody knows anything about natural bodybuilding? It's a loser's game. The first 2 years you put on 25 pounds of muscle. And it's really great and fulfilling. The next year after that you put on 5. The next year after that you put on 4. The next year after that you put on 2. The next year after that you put on 1. The next year after that you put on 1. You do that till about the time you're 35. There's no extra pound of muscle. It's maintenance. So in a lot of ways, it had a very short ceiling to my efforts. And it was taking a lot out of me. I was very, very sad. I didn't even know it. I wouldn't even accept it. Fuck. To myself, I would reject it. Oh, think about the prison I built. And I saw it manifested on my skin. I had so many spots on me. I was like a leopard. A lot of unaddressed sadness, of course, because, you know, how would somebody perceive sadness? Weak. Well, that goes against my protective mechanism of needing to be seen as strong. Think of how strong you are when you neglect yourself every day, you coward. Yeah, real damn strong. I say that to myself because I wish I had somebody to tell that to me. I did have somebody to tell that to me, actually. It's one of my best friends. I realize I incorporate that in my coaching, but it's not what you think. And that's what I really wanted to make clear. It's not what you think. So being this rigid 21-year-old at the time, my brother invited me to Jiu-Jitsu. Now this was really important for me because I hate Jiu-Jitsu. I hated it then. I don't hate it now, but I've grown a lot as a person to not hate it. I'll tell you why I hated it. I wasn't good at it. And that's why most people hate things, is because they're just not good at them. Also, some people voluntarily choose the workhorse. You don't have to be one, but to challenge yourself, try doing something you don't like and learn how to excel at it. Because perhaps maybe what you don't like about it is the very thing that you resist about what you need to face about you. One of the people that I met actually in Jiu-Jitsu was the reason why I stayed. My brother called me up and he goes, "Hey, you're coming with me to Jiu-Jitsu." And I go, "Okay." "Are you paying for it?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'll pay for it. I just need somebody to roll with." My jiu-jitsu coach, who's now a close friend of mine and still my jiu-jitsu coach, was the very reason that I stayed. I stayed because I saw something. There was a sensitivity in him. And honestly, it called back to me. And I called back to it and I said, you know, despite jiu-jitsu, I want to show up for this. This person is very interesting to me. I want to interact with this. I get on the mats. I get choked out. I throw a tantrum. What happened to me there, gentlemen? Ladies? Well, that was me interacting with failure. That was me interacting with what I didn't quite understand about me. Okay, if you're aware of what children do when they don't get what they want, they throw tantrums. So I got tapped, I threw a tantrum. Get tapped again, I throw a tantrum. I look at my brother and I go, what the fuck is this shit? Typical response to somebody who's interacting with something that's deeply challenging them. I have an understanding of being able to at least reflect on what deeply challenges me so that I can actually expand my definition of strength. Because most people's definition of strength is just their externalization of it. That's called power, not strength. Don't confuse the two. There's an extraordinary strength to a child. And there's an extraordinary gentleness to a giant. When somebody starts to understand what real strength is, you stop trying to look for it in the same place and the only place you know how, which stops you from interacting with your humanity and the superhuman components of it. There absolutely is. You just have to be able to realize the dimensions of what it really means to be a strong man is not in the vacuum of your insecurities. This is going to be very helpful for you to interact with, because when you start realizing the kind of person that I was then, that I am now, I want to make it really damn clear. I became a perfectionistic snob who had an idea of what strong is, and I held that over myself, as it not only led to physical injury, it led to my own detriment and my inability to connect with people that are like me, that I want to develop a connection with. That's the avoidance of what I need to face. Immediately makes me, by default, afraid of what I have to interact with. And if I run from that thing, then I'm a coward in the face of that. Maybe the strong individual isn't somebody who interacts with what is perceived by others as strong, but is one who's willing to put that away to interact with what challenges them in relationship to themselves. 1 week of jiu-jitsu, great, having a good time. Next month, he goes up to me and he goes, hey man, you know, you're a big boy now, you can pay for your own bills. Your brother can stop paying for it. If you want to show up for it, you can show up for it. And I scratched my head and I said, well, there's only one reason why I wanted to keep going. I like seeing how much more open I was in life every time I got tapped. I was no longer resisting it. I was learning from it. It took time. So when I was asked by this podcast hostess, she told me, like, what exactly prompted you to do this? And I said, well, I just knew one thing for certain, as that the ceiling of that challenge would cause me to reflect on me, that would allow me to really see the strength and the kind of good that I could bring to this world. I heard something that changed my life throughout the course of this process of being tapped out, and it was, are you a good person? So just being able to interact with failure, rejection, and doubt was the very thing that allowed me to develop strength. To interact with insecurities, inadequacies, insufficiencies are the very thing that allows you to interact with being. Typically, darkness challenges our philosophy and our value system, because most of our value system is an avoidance of what we don't quite understand. That's not a value system. That's a protective mechanism in the name of values. Don't get them mixed up. What it took for me to be able to speak in front of a camera, to even be able to be myself, in so many ways I don't think you're aware of. You know, most of you, probably due to your naivete and lack of understanding of what kind of strength that it takes, I would have breakdowns before I would have to do these videos. It was very difficult for me. I'd be very hard on myself. I was not allowed to make mistakes. I had to always be seen as strong. Oh, let me tell you what that is. That's called the death of a winner. That need is where all growth is destroyed, where all betterment is gone, where all connection is made. You cannot grow as a person if you have that. That is harming every single man. I need to be seen this way. Oh yeah, guess what? Now that you no longer need to be seen this way, it manifested itself subconsciously into your life with your weird disciplinary, masturbatory, idolatrous behavior. We'd rather do anything than actually trust the very thing that we are born with, that we know is true about us, that we refuse to accept again and again. It's hard, God damn it. It's not impossible. I want to sell you on genuinely a dream, and it's not to sell you on one more than it is to actually maybe speak to the inclination in you that wants you to step through a door that will challenge you for the rest of your life. Why do you want a life that lacks that? I don't ever want the dialogue to stop. I don't ever want the game to end. I want to see who I become in the process of being able to accept my mistakes and to learn from them. It's very, very hard to do that. You could really tell the quality of a man based off the accountability he can take for his own actions. This changed my life, and I'll tell you what did. I paid 60 grand to my brother, who has an acting coaching team along with a production company, to film 30 reels for me. Now you're probably like, hey man, that's a little crazy. I knew what I had in me, and the difference was 60 grand. I'll pull that shit out of my pocket and do it every damn morning, so that I can get closer to the part of me that I was too afraid to see. What a lot of you guys maybe saw at first was a guy that kind of knew what he was doing. I had no fucking idea what I was doing. I just believed in the process that I would become better throughout this, and that I needed support. I needed help. It's a very lie that a lot of people think who need to be perceived as strong. Guess how that manifested in my relationships? Do you think I had love? Do you think I had compassion? Do you think I had mercy? I never had any mercy. I never had any compassion. And I was only messed with ferocity and betrayal. Well, of course, I betray myself every damn day because I became so disconnected from the part of me that needs to interact with life and to fail in the face of it. So guess what? I said, bad reel or good reel, it's going up. I go to Jiu-Jitsu, it's about getting tapped. I go up to the girl, it's about getting rejected. This was really the fundamentals of what actually allowed this to be here. I actually embodied those things, and I grew as a person because of those things. But I'm not off the hook yet. Maybe what you thought was something that was effortless and raw to me. No, really what you really want to see, I'd maybe even love to share it, maybe give my editors a way for you to see me kind of smack my fucking face. So hard on me. That was impossible to me. I found the easiest possible achievement of my life, and I stuck to it, and I held on to it like a baby holding on to a teddy bear. I realized that I was just holding on to something to prevent me from the progress of my life because I was so afraid of my own beating. I wanted to be seen as strong. I became weak to me. There's a true beauty to real strength, and you'll love it. It's not your focus. Play is. My hero you wouldn't expect. Of course, I'd say my father. Here we assort to somebody masculine. It's my nephew. People, when they usually see us, they usually would think that maybe we're siblings. I'm his older brother, or in a lot of ways, he's like a mini me. He's 13, I'm 25. Hanging out with him was like being able to hang out with the parts of myself that I told myself I needed to bury. I knew growing up what it is to be strong is to stand by what's true. Most men abandon that every damn day. You want to know the worst part? You abandon it at the cost of everything that allows what is true to be loved. To be strong is to stand by that truth. It's not a question of how it's perceived. It's an understanding of the necessity for it in life because there's only love in truth. When I came out of a relationship, I rejected everything about me, hence the whole relationship was that manifestation. I started freestyling. And I never used to smoke, but I would use it recreationally to kind of get tapped into what I repressed. And I knew that because I studied psychology my whole life, that you can use these things as tools to bring up what was buried. And I'd freestyle. And I remember I was 21 at the time, and I was with my nephew, and my God, he'd be like 9. And I'd freestyle with him. He's way better than me. So much better than me. I always bury that part of myself. To be playful, to be kind, to be tender, to be sweet, to be caring. I made it all about power. When I found power, I became unavailable. I pushed people away with it. That's not the point of power. It's to bring others up with it. It's to understand the very capacity of myself is to help others connect to the things that they feel can never be connected to. I live to do that. I live to give here. I live to speak from here. And these were small things that I did that I wish I did for myself when I was younger. A space to make jokes, to encourage maybe the wrong rhyme, the jazz in a classical theater. And that manifested into something, is that almost giving him room to do that gave me room to do me. What's that called? Compassion. Ooh, the strength of compassion. You know, you became so stuck on your own judgments. Welcome to your cycles. Enjoy. You know, you become so strong on your own convictions. You forget the necessity for the feminine in relationship to your masculine growth. Well, that's going to make you suck as a man. I'm here to tell you that every good man is 4 times the feminine. So don't think that you're not going to have to connect to that part of yourself if you want to have anything to contribute or give the world, or to even more or less understand women. If you think you're a Casanova, you're probably not one. My relationship with him was always one to encourage the authentic spirit in him. And when he was pulled to it, I mean, fucking hell, he'd do karaoke. And I was like, dude, the strength of this kid. Karaoke. By the way, I've done a lot of like coaching dares against myself because I had to I knew one thing. I have to lead my clients into the discomfort, into the uncomfortable unknown. And my brother was like, we're going to a karaoke bar. This is at a point in my life. It was after the jiu-jitsu. I already made a decision to be a coach. I already started doing the coaching. I started unleashing in a lot of ways. I started realizing that my strength was not just in the manifestation of how people see me, but it was in my ability to interact with what I perhaps wanted to avoid my whole life. Sober karaoke kicked my ass. The first time it happened, I don't think I ever had a heart rate over 160. I had to sing The Time of My Life, the Dirty Dancing song. And everybody is drunk and they're singing, you know, I'm Mr. Brightside. And I'm like, oh, come on, like, you know, when you're drunk, it's your shots of courage that, you know, you lack for the parts of you that you need to hide behind the mask of alcohol. Like, you know, you could do that without it and you would connect far more to it. So much about this process has changed me to really help discover that my understanding of strength is limited by my perception of myself. When I would see my nephew interact with those things like sing a karaoke song or go up to people, I was always so afraid of that. And I had to work so hard at doing it. But all I needed to do was be me in front of the next generation, and it caught like a fire. I didn't need any explanation. It was the authentic state of being. We can create a garden, a paradise. It's not so much in the eradication of what we are, but actually the embrace of what we are. And maybe just taking those very good things and having the courage to interact with them in our lives. So something happened as of recently. I've been really interacting with that part of me that's very sensitive. So sensitive to the point that I feel so deeply that I cry. When I experience beauty, I move to tears. When I experience love, I run out of breath. When I watch a beautiful film, I'm moved. I'm moved and the tissue box becomes my best friend. So much of my life has been about authentic expression. A lot of it I've attached to authentic sexual expression, and I made a whole identity off that I forgot what it is to really express my heart. Most men live without heart. You're not much of a man when you live without a heart. You have nothing to protect. You just live to protect yourself and your own selfish ways. You know, if you learn how to interact with your heart, you would realize how much you really do care about others. And this time it won't be a fake mask of altruism. You could identify your psychological selfish complexes, and that's good. And then you could also realize how much you care for others and how much that really scares you as a man. When you care for others, you're vulnerable to what others do with your care. That makes you strong. It wouldn't be so easy to give if it didn't require strength. You know, we talk about emotional availability. You understand the strength in that is to have access to what most people bury. Don't think that it's that easy. I was playing this one video game. With my nephew, and it was actually really interesting. What brought me to the game was the amount of resistance I felt around the game. I had so much resistance to it because, you know, I didn't want to lose. Oh, here it is. I thought I got rid of that part of me. I thought I got it on lock. But once I started realizing when it comes to dating, I have to be very, very damn aware of how many times I've made mistakes. The things I've done, how I've interacted with it, the person I went out with, the things that I said. But I always need to be seen as strong and powerful. So guess what? Do you think I learn from my mistakes? Do you think I actually meet my needs? Or do I betray and neglect myself every damn time? I have experienced the pain of my own neglect and the grief of that. And there's no one else to blame except myself. I created these things. I interacted with these things. And there's a tremendous amount of maturity to understand that. And I get to learn this not by watching a YouTube video, but by living my life and playing video games with my nephew. There's a reason why he's my hero. He allows me to realize the importance of being able to bring the most authentic parts of myself in the world. And that's exactly what your child and you stands to do. We look very similar too. Very similar sense of humors. I've never got to feel, I get to be so fucking goofy. Oh my God, I get to be so goofy. Oh, there's so much strength in that. I used to reject that. You know, women were the enemy of all of my authentic expression. Well, it was never women, it was just me. And my inability to be courageous with what I didn't believe everybody understood. Do you think everybody understands your tears? Do you think everybody understands your sadness? Do you think everybody understands your grief? Do you think anybody understands your gifts? Do you think anybody understands your sensitivity? My God, people don't. So many people have so much to say about everything and anything, but the worst part is that you're the one at the forefront of that parade, and you just gathered the posse to reject everything that you are. So, about 2 months ago, I started playing this game. The game is called Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. If you're familiar with what you call Dark Souls, they made the game, and they've actually made some of the most difficult games of all time. I agreed to play it, and I said, for the sake of world peace, we'll play the game. I always held that my ninja game was better than his ninja game. And if you're raised in the early 2000s, you're probably familiar with the video game Ninja Gaiden. I'd be curious, comment, let me know if that's like something you've actually played. And he told me his ninja game is Sekiro, and it's really difficult. And he'd love to watch me play. My favorite thing that I used to do with my older brother, I used to love to watch him play. It was my favorite thing. It was almost like I got to see the process of somebody improving in the face of it. And I realized that it was really, I got to see the story of the game. Don't you want to see the story of your life? You know, you beat yourself up for your mistakes. You tell yourself you need to be something that you're not. You never get to experience the beauty of your life. Think about the crime in that. Think about the weakness in being unable to face the kind of strength it takes to have access to these parts of you. By the way, it shines brightest in your intimate relationships, as most problems do. Shine brightest in mine. Well, here it goes. I start picking up the remote control. Every Wednesday I come by the house. Every Wednesday that I come by the house, I play the game. And of course, what do we like to do when we're introduced with the challenge of life, or at least we wake up to it? We try to make it easy. And so I said, hey man, the game isn't hard. You're just not thinking. Not like I'm thinking. And I try to find a way to cheese it, and I'm dying like 1,000 times. And not only am I dying 1,000 times, I'm getting progressively shittier at the game. The next thing that ends up happening is I start getting really frustrated. I start getting really angry. I get past the first few bosses, but the first few bosses aren't that hard because it's just the beginning of it. But I'm still just as convicted. I'm convicted in my own ways of having to be seen like I got it. And I was realizing this was the same childhood trauma that I have not faced, that has literally pushed myself away from me and others from me too. It is the worst one. It is the one that feeds off your ego as it laces itself into your life. And I was able to interact with this through a fucking video game. You don't think that I'm insane? I know I'm insane. I just stand by it. That insanity plays out in my life, and the effects of my life are insane, and I love it. So you won't believe it. I'm playing these fucking video games. And by the way, I did a whole thing on Halo 2 saving my life. Go ahead, watch that video. You'll realize my connection to reality is the fact that I get to play in reality. This is not a chore. There's heart in this. There's love in this. There's connection in this. There's journey in this. There's adventure in this. And so I get super angry, and he'd keep telling me, hey, Naftali, look at the boss's patterns, parry when they attack, slow down. I never had somebody speak to me that way when I'm trying something. There was so much compassion. There was so much love. There was so much tenderness. There was so much encouragement. I've always been so hard on me. I've been so hard on me that the only standard I have is perfection. And then I became this fucking dude in the corner, paralyzed under my own perception because of every fear I could not face, because of every mistake I could not handle, because of every rejection that hurt me. I'd show up every week, and I'd get better. And I started accepting the process of what it is to get better. It's not to try to beat the game, but really to see how you're beating yourself every time. The game was never difficult. Hell, we made the game. We understand the contents of it. It's just really the process by which we go about it. Every time I would lose, I said, if this boss helps me get better at the game, why do I rush the boss? And of course, I kick that boss's ass. A little bit more of the game. I try to rush the game. I fall back into my old patterns. I beat myself up. I become further and further away from what's the purpose. Sometimes you miss the whole point. It was never to be the best, but to be better. The process of being better is a journey of love. It's a journey of connection. The final boss of this game is the one that really kicked my ass. About 2 months into playing this game and improving and getting better, I first tried to go in there with all of my conviction and my newfound ability, which we all tend to do. And I almost beat the boss. And I was like, look, you see, I'm the best at this. There was this ugliness that kind of arose, this ego that kind of stepped into the whole thing. And of course I went back and I got my ass kicked. And I said, it'll be different on the 3rd try, 4th try, 5th try, 6th try. Now I'm losing to the first phase and I'm getting really pissed. Hell, the name of the game is Shadows Die Twice. The point is, you're gonna lose. You think you're above that? You think you're above mistakes? If you're above mistakes, you're above improvement. What are you, God? I learned from the lessons of my mistakes. About actually 100 deaths in, And I've had some times where I stormed out of the house and I said, fuck this game. I come back that weekend and I'm like, all right, Gavi, we're gonna kick some ass. Of course, I come in with the same convictions, I get my ass kicked. I start blaming the game. The RNG is off, dude. I then realized I was actually beating myself up. Gabriel is my nephew. He really showed me what it is to be compassionate. I was losing time and time out, but he always gave me the encouragement and patience and consideration, and always helped me slow down to realize that I could learn from my mistakes, not have to punish myself for them twice. There's one time I was getting so angry, I didn't think I could beat the boss. I was getting discouraged. I was beating myself up. And I remember this is all through the contents of a video game, but you know, when you start interacting with the things that you interacted with as a child, as an adult, they're very different. It's actually how you create progress in your life. He looks at me and he goes, Naftali, why are you being so hard on yourself? You got this. And he massages my traps. And he goes, you've learned from your mistakes. Learn from your mistakes is what he tells me. Learn from your mistakes. And allow yourself to do so by not beating yourself up twice. And my body relaxed. I grabbed the controller. I didn't care about beating the boss. I cared about being better. Being better for me. I wanted to. And of course, I beat the boss. When I beat that boss, not only did I not take any damage, I didn't use any heals. I didn't need to revive myself. I kicked his ass like he was my bitch. The power of compassion is the ability to make mistakes, to be rejected, and to be able to experience those experiences without having to reject yourself twice. I beat the boss, and I look at my nephew, and I felt sad. I didn't want to stop playing. I wanted that to be every damn day of my life. I want to be able to actually spread this message so that people realize that being better is really what you've always wanted. And all you've wanted is just to at least have a voice that could encourage you despite those failures and despite those maybe unrecognized efforts. Because I looked at him, and although I did beat the boss, I was just looking for another really difficult game that I could play with him because of how much not only I love him, but how he showed me how I can love myself in the face of things that make me constantly fail. You're not telling me that your pursuit towards greatness is not going to land with a lot of mistakes and perhaps a lot of rejections and failures. It absolutely will. I realized that when I actually understood the purpose of the game, which is it's here for you and no one else, just like this life is here for you and no one else. What's going on, everybody? I have an absolutely huge announcement. I am launching my new school. Now, this isn't just another cool way to watch more exclusive videos. If you like this one, it's a way to really start integrating all of this material because it's been my life's work over the last 3 years. Now, the beautiful part of it is that it's constantly uploading every week, meaning that if you like the beginning stuff, that's great, but you can also grow with me. I don't just believe that the work that I do is just to help you guys. I believe that it helps me in ways access inner beauty that I've never seen and discovered before, and I want you guys to be a part of this process collectively with me. I believe that the transformational process and the growing process is one that is for those who are willing to connect with their humanity, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. The best part is it's not just the videos. It's going to be me and you in the community integrating every one of those videos and some of the parts in your life that you believe that you're having struggles with. If this is you, you will see the link in the description, and I can't wait to see you join the revolution.